Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video we're just going to expand on the decision making and the different ways to use selectors or different tools that we have available when creating an application and trying to control the flow of your application. We talked already about in previous videos about the if statement. Try to talk about, nesting the if statement, just so you know how that works, the else if statement, and how that actually works, and the else statement that goes along with the if. And what we did here was just kind of, if you've been following along, we created the, enter overall grade. And first off, we come up here and, we make a little menu and we get the user to choose either to move into the program and get a grade or to exit the program. And depending on what the user selects, we'll then move on down here and move to the logic of our program. So if they select 1, which up here, in our menu was to get the grade, they're now able to come in here and they will print out, they will be prompted to select or input a grade that they've been given in class. An overall grade of their class was an 85. We then, take that value and we store it, and we then try to cross-reference it to different values to see, or compare it to different values to see what grade they are, to then give them the proper output based upon their input. So now again, if they just pick 2, then that will just, give us a thanks for using the program and leave. And we also use our else statements as kind of error proofing. If they give us a negative value for the grade, it will tell us it's out of range. And if they give us a pause, or if they give us a wrong, a number bigger than 1 or 2, or a different number from 1 or 2, it will also, the menu value is out of range. So we'll just run this and kind of show you the logic here. Run the program up. And here we got the, 1 to get the grade, 2 to exit. We can, hit 2. Thanks for using the program. We'll run it one more time really quick. We'll now go in and just get the grade. And now you say we have a 75 and you're passing with a B. Okay, and that's, the logic works perfect. They come in, they give us a 1. They start to run the program. We get the grade and we look through, is it, less than 127, and it's also greater than 100. No, so we'll jump down. So is the number that they gave you greater than 90 and less than 100? No, so we won't. We'll jump down to the next test. We'll check it, and we gave them a 75. So in essence, we got to here, is it greater than 70 and it less than 80? Oh yes, it was. So we printed out this value for them. And that works fine. It all works good. And we kind of put our main program inside of our menu if. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite it, and we're going to use another form of selector or form of logic that's available in creating say menus, or it's just another form to make more precise decisions, or when making more precise comparisons. You're not necessarily going to use comparisons at this point, so we'll just show you. And it's called the switch. We type it out with switch. We give it the normal brackets opening and closing, and then we do the curly brackets opening and closing. The switch is kind of different because it does not actually take in a Boolean value. It's not a true or a false value anymore. It actually takes in a byte, an int, a long, a char, any of those type of data types. It does not work with Boolean. So just take the select that we get, and that's going to be the user's input from the menu up here. We'll just put that down in here, and now it works fine. You'll notice we can't actually use our comparison operators here anymore, or you don't need to use them. It just won't work as the program. So the select statement takes in just a integer value. A char would work. You couldn't use a string. The string would not work. a char, an int, a byte, a short. I'm pretty sure a long for the most part would work, but I don't even think that you would need to, because when we're doing this, it's kind of a defined value, and I'll show you why. When you're doing this, you're going to say case, and that's now kind of setting up, this situation here. But we're going to say case is 1, so where the case is actually 1, then we're going to put a colon, and we'll do this chunk of code. And now when we come down here, we're going to go, if the case is 2, then we're going to do this chunk of code. And then there's always a default value that's given with these as well. It's kind of like our else statement, if you will, and that's your default. So now this is perfectly set up to start actually taking our menu inputs into it. So now where we had down here, if the selection was 1, then we ran this bit of code, right? We went from here and we ran all this code here. Now if we actually want to, we can actually take that, we'll just push Control C, move up to here, and right inside after this, we'll just drop down a line, and we'll just hit the Control V, and then now we're actually now going to, run this chunk of code in the form that case 1 was selected. Now that's good, that's all good and fine. And always when we're doing it with the switch statement like this, we're going to have to put a break at the end, and that's always needed to tell the program to jump out of here after this has been done. And I'll kind of explain why in a minute. I'll take it out and I'll show you why. So now if the case 2, we know that this is the case here, that thank you for using the program. Just come up here. We'll paste this into here now. So this is for, when the case 2 happens. And we know that for the default value of the menu would be this one here. And we now can type this into the default value. All right. And again, after the case, we should use the break. There might be a time and a place where you don't want to use the break, but for the most part, that is needed. It's always needed after the line. And again, I will kind of highlight and show you why. So now that we got our program all rewritten, we're just going to comment this one out, this full if statement out. Just down to here. These are our two, if we just hover here, you can see up at the very top, public static void main. That's the block, the closing block for our main method up here for this. And the very bottom one was our closing block for our public class. So we don't need to comment any further than what we did there. We just wanted to comment out the if statement. And now this typically, this is a little overkill for this program. You wouldn't typically do this here, but because we're at such a low level of our understanding at this point yet, we're just going to do this for now. And you can do it. It's definitely doable. So I'll run the code and I'll show you what it does now. It'll essentially do exactly the same thing that we had earlier. Here we have our menu. We type in 2. Thanks for using the program. It leaves. So I'll kind of just walk you through. We start our program. Our main method runs. We come in through here. We drop in. We check, or we put values or variables together. We declare them and assign them zeros. We then create a scanner. We then go down here and we simply print out the menu really quickly. Then we print out a prompt for the user to enter a selection. And then we wait for the user to give us a selection. Once a selection is given, we store it in our value. It comes down into the switch. It now looks that value over, and if it's a 1, we will jump into this case and we'll do all the code after this line. So we start on this line and work our way down. We prompt the user again to give us a value, We then jump through and we'll now evaluate this if statement. All right, where in our case when we ran it, the select was actually 2. So we came down to this code here, we ran from here, we then went, thanks for using the program, we jumped out with this break, it kicked us out of this block, and we just ended the program down here. There's no more code. This is all commented out, so the compiler doesn't even recognize it or even use it. Okay, so that's the very first run of that. We'll run it one more time, and this time we'll actually push 1. And as you can see, now we now moved, once we came down, the select was 1. We are now in this chunk of code. We're starting here. The prompt has been given. We'll type in 75, hit enter. It now evaluates the number given against the if statements that we previously created. And we're here, gets to this one and actually says, yep, this is true. Prints out this piece of code. Yep, you're passing with a B. It then jumps out of this chunk because now it's resolved with a true. Jumps to the break kicks it out of the switch, and we now end down here at the end of our program. Okay, so I just want to show you one quick thing. If you don't have the breaks here, we'll just remove these. When we hit run and we hit 2, we'll just go with the 2 this time without breaks in our case. So we'll hit 2, and now you see, thanks for using the program, error out of range. Okay, now why that is that the case came down, it found 2, it did this line of code here, but because there was no break, it actually jumped down and finished and did this line of code as well. Okay, so that's why you need the break, is to kick you out of the program, or sorry, out of the switch. It needs to know when you want to jump out of it. So there may be a reason that you want to do, certain amounts of, you want to do certain steps. It's kind of a step logic in this form, and it's very precise, like the 2. If you see, we cannot actually put in, a conditional operator here. You could not say, a range if select is greater than 100. It doesn't actually do that for you. Even if you tried to, if we fought our way through and tried to, put in brackets, it doesn't do it that way. This is not how the select works. The select works on a very specific case. Okay, so if it was 1, you could put if it was 100, you could put if it was 150. It's going to work based upon the value that's given, and this is a byte, so we're getting the problem because it's, the byte's only ever good for 127. If you went to 128, you would get that problem. So again, if it was a char value that you declared up here, if we had a char and we just said select, and we made it equal to, and we just went like this. Okay, again, data types, select char, I'll just call it select char. So now if we were to use, a select char here, now we could actually do it, like this, and it would essentially do the same thing. In this form, we would not be, we could just turn this into next char, and then it would essentially do the same thing. So there's several different ways to go, around and making this program, just to show you how the char works in that form. Okay, so we're not going to go that route right now. We're just going to leave it the way we were, but the char does work, and there's no ranges. It's a very specific case. All right, and again, so now, if we didn't put the break here, because we're talking about breaks, and we run this program, and this is kind of okay in this form because we're not actually looping. So say if we get the grade and we go, it's 85. So you are passing with an A, thanks for using the program. So in essence, that's not really that big of a deal that it, prompts us with the thanks for using the program, because, the program does die after we do one single pass of it. So again, that's kind of like a reason when you would maybe want to do both. And in the case that you don't, then make sure you put the break. All right. So that's pretty well everything there. We do have the error proofing added from the previous already built in, which, you know, if we type in 3, you now get menu value out of range like we previously did. Again, if we were to go into the actual grade function of this and say -50, you now say grade value out of range. So partially error proof, it's a little bit more flowing, has more structure to it. We're now able to control kind of our flow. It's becoming more application like. All right, so that's the case. The case, or the switch, the case switch, I guess. Switch statement is what it's called. So that's one you do have available to you. Commented off, it's a switch statement. There you go. And that's pretty well it for this video. I'll show you more uses of this. Generally, you don't. It's not against it to put that much code into a switch. Generally, it would be used in tandem with other features that we're going to talk about later. So we'll kind of wean this down a little bit more. But just know that this is available to you, and you can use it as this, you know, in this form. So I'd just like to say thanks for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any ideas, comments, questions, just put them down in the comment section below. And if you would like to subscribe to the channel and check out the rest of the videos, that'd be great. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.